a program that's been in the works for a while, and sorry. Is that better? Yeah, and is going to be a cornerstone of Mayor Keller's third term. So with that, we'll run through. We've got a couple of speakers, and then we'll do Q&A, and of course, be here for any questions that you have after the speakers. So with that, let me introduce Mayor Tim Keller.
I see that trash truck over there, and I feel like it's just tradition when you're mayor that solid waste follows you around. Just about every event we've got, we have the beeping in the background, but he's about finished. What I am going to start out with is let's see. I want to make sure too. Is this one on? Is there some volume out there? How about that? A little better? No, nothing. I don't hear anything. Give us a second here. That would be because we didn't turn it on.
There we go.
Okay.
There it is.
A little better? All right. Okay, well, welcome folks who are joining us. We have a lot of folks from the city, but we also have some folks from the African American Museum project, and also some amazing folks who do community gardens. You're going to hear from them, the Samia project, among other things in terms of youth engagement and development in our city. This is the first announcement that we're doing that is really part of our State of the City time frame, in a sense that is happening Saturday. So what we always do is we try and preview a few things that we're rolling out. This is one of those today, and then we have a few follow-ups after to sort of add really meat to the bone that we're going to be announcing on Saturday. And so this one here today is in some ways very straightforward. It's something that I've wanted to do for many years, and it's something now during these tough times that is extremely important. And the theory basically is not complicated. It's like this. We drive all around our city, or we're a business, or we're looking for a place for a community garden, and we see empty pieces of land all over our city, just like this one right here. This is in some ways a hallmark of Albuquerque, right? We've all seen hundreds and hundreds of pieces of land just like this. And often the question is, well, who owns that? And then the question is, why has it been vacant for 50, 60, 70 years? That is what we are going to try and address. And we're trying to address that because we know that these are difficult times and resources are scarce. Whether you're a community group or a neighborhood that wants to actually grow your own produce so that you can deal with the shortage of grocery stores that we have, or you're somebody who is on SNAP benefits that are being cut by the federal government and you need an alternative to get produce, and you want to engage in community gardening, these are all things that are happening now and are getting worse because the cost of food is going up and because the cost of essentially support services is also going up or going away entirely. So the pressure on our community for precious resources like food is just getting more and more strong, and it is essentially grinding us down in many ways every day when we try and afford groceries or we try and deal with the bureaucracy of federal government and so forth. Similarly for businesses, right? It's a very similar message. Businesses need land for what they want to do if they want to open a business, an entrepreneur, and land costs money. But right now, banking is really tight. It's hard to borrow money. Entrepreneurs don't have startup funding. We've always had a shortage of capital in our city. And so, it makes it harder for entrepreneurs. Again, it's one of those additional burdens on doing business in Albuquerque. And even whether it's community projects, since they're here, we've wanted to have an African American History Museum for decades. And how do you actually do that? Well, we've always wanted to say, look, the city would like to offer land to that project as part of our contribution, but we were never really able to put together an inventory of all the land that we can share with Albuquerque. So that's what this is. This is the beginning of a project that we're going to be working on for my entire next term, or this term. And this is about giving our land back to Albuquerque. It's about making sure that we will say, if you can use this land productively and use it soon, we'll probably put in some criteria, like you have to do something within 18 months or something like that, then basically we'll give it to you. Or we'll say, in exchange for keeping it secure or maybe adding in drip irrigation, we will give it to you. Or we'll lease it to you for 99 years, or we'll charge you $1 rent. You get the idea. We're going to make sure that we can use every unused piece of land that people want in this city. that is our way of showing abundance, of pushing back on scarce resources. And so today we're here at an example of a piece of land that could be used for anything, but we want to make sure it is used for something. That is the goal. And we're going to make sure that cost is not the issue, and neither is red tape, neither is other things that have held us back before. And so we're just going to say yes with very limited conditions for just taking care of it. So this piece, just in general, is a nice size for a community garden. And so that's why we're going to talk a little bit about the need and also groups that are putting together community gardens all over our city. Now, you see here, some land is actually also just for sale. So the other thing is, if you just want to buy it, we will just sell it to you. Now that does require a market price transaction. And so that's also something the city has not done. We have basically been hoarding land for decades out of a fear that one day we might need it, or that someday the perfect use will come to us. Now we're saying, you just use it for whatever you want, Albuquerque, it's yours. Okay, the available properties are over there. We have over 100. I was trying to count them on our list. There's about 200. They're all going to be posted they already are posted on our website, and so folks can look at it. And every property is different. Like, there's different zoning regulations and all that, and we won't bore you with the real estate aspect of this, but we want as much of these properties that people want to use. We're going to find a way to let you use them. Okay, so with that, I'm going to hand it over to someone who runs a lot of these properties. It doesn't really matter from our perspective what department owns a property or not anymore. We are just going to work with a community member, and we're going to say, how can you use them? But a lot of them happen to fall under this gentleman. So let's bring up Terry Bruner, our Director of Metropolitan Redevelopment.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to move this one over just a tad so I can point to it. So for many years at Metropolitan Redevelopment, we've been focused on commercial usage of different types of properties across the city in our designated metropolitan redevelopment areas. And in the last couple years, inspired by the mayor's perspective on this, we've tried to take a lot of the lots that we have under our possession and start to find other uses than just building on them, or building on them sometime in the future, a decade down the road or something like that. So we launched a block party program last year and let people start to have block parties on our vacant lots, or do an arts and crafts fair, or a weekend celebration of some sort. And it was relatively successful, and we found that the community was looking for these opportunities to use our properties in creative ways. So instead of us holding and buying and holding a property for a long period of time and hoping a developer comes along and puts something on it, we're trying to activate these properties and get people involved in what's happening in their area, give them opportunities to gather as a community, give a small business an opportunity to have their food truck on one of our lots, and we can do that relatively easily. It's not that hard for the city to do this, it's just we haven't been in the habit of doing it. So from large to small lots, we think we have an opportunity here to use them. So on this picture here, you'll see that we have a lot of orange lots, orange dots, indicating lots that we have under development agreement. So this is something that we do. When we have a vacant lot, we bring somebody in to develop housing on it, but they may not develop that housing for a couple years because they're getting financing together, or trying to figure out their design. In that 2 years or so, we could easily give that lot to the community or lease it out to somebody for a private use or a temporary weekend use. There's no reason that lot needs to sit inactive. It's an eyesore very often. It's a vacant lot. We want to get some activity on there. And this is important to us. I mean, we just made an offer on a lot today on Central Avenue, 2 acres, that has been vacant for 30 years. 2 acres of land on Central vacant. And that shouldn't be happening in our town. These are the missing teeth on some of these main thoroughfares and in these neighborhoods. We need to fill them in with activity. So you'll see, I think, at the city now, a listing of these properties. You can consider buying, leasing, temporary use, and our departments will work with you, and we at the MRA will take those calls and work with the community on figuring out a creative use for that property. And as the mayor said, we're going to try our best to say yes and be open to all the ideas that you have and put them into action to generate more community activity on these vacant lots in particular, and get some new usage along the way. Who knows? We might find that some of these lots had a use we didn't think of, and we enter into a longer term agreement that gets that lot activated big time, long term. That would be great. We'd love to see that at MRA because that's our mission, to redevelop areas that are blighted and need of attention. So we're excited about this program. We're excited to get it started.
All right, thanks, Terry. And as you can see, this is about really like democratizing what we have. So Terry was speaking about residential use, and I want to be clear too, we have a housing shortage. So we are very much hoping that people will say, yes, I would like to put housing on this property. And we'll say, great, we'll help finance that by letting you use the land for very minimal cost or for just a certain set of conditions. And so this is also a massive way to catalyze housing all over our city. Okay, now the other aspect of this, which we've touched on, you've got commercial use, you have the even food truck use like we talked about, and you have residential use, and then we also have this idea that we should really let these pieces of land come to life and help nourish us. And that is what Semilla Project in many ways is all about. So let's bring up Ellie Kuna from the Semilla Project.
Thank you so much, everybody. I'm beyond excited to be part of this moment. Thank you, Mayor Keller and Director Brunner and all the city employees and leaders that are here present, and also the community leaders that have been working the land in Loma Linda. We in Semilla Project, we believe about the connection to land. The connection to land is not about ownership. It's about being able to connect through the production of food, through art, through belonging, to be able to really build a community that is beyond our neighborhoods, beyond our houses, but really start building what we are dreaming to become. And we were able to create that in Loma Linda Community Center. The City of Albuquerque leases us with less than $1, almost 1 acre of land to build a community garden. In a year, we were able to produce 3,000 tons. 3 tons. 3 tons of produce, of vegetables for our community that serve over 600 families in the neighborhood. And at the same time, we were able for these families to save over $4,000 of just food expenses. That is abundance in practice. That is how it looks when the community take care of each other. It's beyond land back, but it's about reclaiming who we are and the prosperity that we deserve. And this moment, with this program, we can see if we did that with 1 acre in 1 year, what we can do with over 100 properties to provide that access of food, access to belonging, to really build the communities that we are hoping our children are growing into it. So I really want to be thankful and encourage the moment that we're living, because this is how abundance looks in practicality. That's how we can reclaim back not just our democracy, but the world, el buen vivir, the livelihood that we deserve. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. All right. We'll see what happens now. Thanks so much. I think, Terry, why don't you come on up? We're going to take some questions, but I want to close with this because Ellie actually was the perfect introduction to how I wanted to wrap up. Our State of the City is going to be about an abundance agenda for the City of Albuquerque for the entire third term that I'm your mayor. And a cornerstone of it is sharing our land, giving back our land. We're also going to talk about giving back our buildings and our empty facilities that we're not using. And there's a whole list of initiatives to actually demonstrate that in these tough times, how can the city help ease the pain of everyday Burqueños? Well, we can demonstrate abundance by sharing what we have to lift others up. That's what the State of the City is going to be about Saturday. Okay, questions? You want to, whatever, you want to add?
I wanted to mention one other thing.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I wanted to draw everybody's attention to this lot on Mesilla. And a lot of these lots that we're offering up are foreclosed properties. So that lot you have in your neighborhood, a lot of us see that. lot that the city owns that they've never done anything with, right in the middle of a neighborhood, we can make that available now for housing and other uses. So this is a great example of one of those residential lots. So we're not just talking commercial areas, we're talking about deep in the neighborhoods where you've had maybe a problem property or a negligent landlord. The city has taken over that lot and made it available now for another use. So I just wanted to emphasize that that's part of what you're seeing with these properties is not just the commercial uses, but also the residential.
Just stay by. Okay, we're gonna hold signs and take questions. We're also on like a hill, so this is, anyway. All right, questions from anyone?
Can you guys go over how many lots you guys have available in your contract?
Sure. So the key is this map right here, and the list is on the website, and there's over 100. I counted almost 200 lots that are available. Now, they're available for different kinds of things, so you do have to, it's lot by lot what you can use them for, how big they are, and so forth. But the city is now offering hundreds of pieces of land for Albuquerque to use.
Do you guys have a timeline of when you want to get certain amounts of properties out?
So the timeline is really going to be dependent on two things. Our city bureaucracy, when you actually want a piece of land, and how good our team can be at actually pushing through an agreement. But the other one is on all of us in Albuquerque. How fast do you want it? How soon are you going to call? And so this is I have roughly 3.5 years left in my term. And so we're going to be working on this. This is one of our top priorities for the entire term as your mayor.
What are some of the residential requirements?
So, there are laws that apply for better or worse. So, for example, if you're in a residential neighborhood, that land can only be used permanently for things like types of housing, right? So you do have to follow the zoning laws and so forth. You can apply for an exemption, but that's no different than anyone else. Now, a temporary use is a little different, and so we're allowed to let people use land for all sorts of stuff on a temporary basis much faster.
Are some of the neighborhoods that are these properties in the residential area, are these neighborhoods kind of on board with you guys? Have you guys talked to them?
Well, this is the whole city. These are hundreds of properties. So we will certainly talk to them and work with them on an individual property basis. But as a whole, we need to roll this out for the city as a whole, right? But certainly, say this piece of land, there's a neighborhood, in that direction and a little bit in that direction. So as we always do, we talk to them about, hey, we want to make this a community garden or do whatever. And they'll have a chance for input and so forth. But that is actually, we can just leave them down at this point. Yeah. So, so anyway, we'll work with them in the normal course of action. But this, just to be clear, every arrangement will be unique, right? Say a church wants to build a facility or they want to use the land. Well, that's going to be a unique arrangement compared to a housing developer, compared to a community garden, compared to a food truck who just wants to park there for a month. The legal term is consideration. So there'll be a unique form of consideration probably for almost every property.
If you make one of those contracts, sorry.
Yeah, go. Red Raiders. Looking good this year.
If you make one of those contracts and they expire, will you put them back on the list almost immediately?
Yes. So again, our goal is to put this land to use and offer it. And so we will make sure that whenever it's not being used, that it is at least available. That's the first step in this process. And I will mention, historically, just to be honest, this was not the case. I mean, I've never actually heard of any city doing this, let alone Albuquerque. And for years, people have been asking me, they're like, that's a condemned piece of land. Why can't I use it? And there were sort of reasons why, but that's what we're pushing past. And that's why we're going to push on this for our entire term. And so now, finally, we figured out a way to actually let folks use our land. And so we're going to say yes, instead of historically, we have more or less always said no, unless it's just a straight real estate transaction.
And then, is this opportunity open for any Albuquerque resident if they wanted to start a small scale farm, just to get their business going?
Yeah, so the answer is it is open to everyone. And again, depending on the use, it'll be negotiated, right? And our theory is that it should be for people, at least in the metro. We'd prefer them to actually be Albuquerque residents. So just to be clear, we're not going to do this. We're not going to let folks from Chicago come in here and open like some market, like a farmer's market. So this is our land for us. All right, well, thanks, folks. We'll be talking about this for like 4 years, so looking forward to it.